When we talk about the contamination of soils, particularly two components, that is the chloride and sulphide, become very important to be detected in these soils. Why? Any guess? Why people should be talking about chloride and sulphide contents? The reasons are very simple, because if you have soils which are having lot of chloride and sulphide, what will happen? As a geotechnical engineer, where I will face problems?
Foundation could get corroded.
Very good, excellent. So, the moment you do anything related with the concrete or cement, and if the soils are very aggressive, having lot of chloride or sulphide content or sulphate content, they are going to attack the foundations, and there are several cases of foundation failure which have induced because of these two culprits. So, what is normally done is that you take the soils and dissolve them in water. Normally we maintain 2:1 liquid solid ratio. That means you take the weight of the soil and 2 times the weight of the soil is in the liquid form is added, and this is stirred for several hours on a hot plate, and so that all the chemical species get leached out. And once the leaching process is over, you filter the supernatant or the liquid, and then measure the chloride and sulphide concentrations. There are ion exchange kits which are available in the market. These kits are similar to the ones which are used for checking your urine samples. This chemistry is same, either it is biochemistry or the chemistry of the soil. We normally call it as soil chemistry. This is sort of a titration which you are doing, and knowing the number of drops of the ion exchange resin which you put in the solution, you can compute what is the concentration of the contaminants. So, change in the color of the solution is a good identification of what type of chemicals and what is their concentration which is available in the system. This is where actually soil salinity sensors are also being used. They have been found to be very useful, and there are a lot of soils which are saline in the all over the world and in our own country, and because of the salinity you can't even use them for agriculture purpose. Alright. So, suppose if I am creating an underground facility, storage of hydrocarbons, and the first question is what is the level of contamination of the soils, because very soon you will realize that if soils are heavily contaminated, even if you create a very thick concrete wall as a containment or for the underground tanks, the chances are that all these chemical species will diffuse into the precious material which you are storing underground, including the hydrocarbons and the water. Alright, because even concrete is porous. So, through pores the diffusion process may occur, and the entire utility items which you have stored might get contaminated.
How do they diffuse in when your tank is also filled with
talk about the entire thing. Any sort of a concentration gradient ultimately would cause the diffusive contaminant transport. The way you are dealing with the advective transport, delta H upon L is I, and the hydraulic gradient occurs and the seepage takes place. The same way when concentration gradient develops, these chemical species will migrate and become a part of the hydrocarbons and the water which you are storing. Alright, we will discuss in details this thing. So, soil salinity is an indication of the contamination level of the soils. The need of the hour is all these saline soils or heavily sea water intruded impregnated soils, can they be converted, can they be rejuvenated? This is a big problem, I hope, and the entire country is facing. The coastal area as well as the locations like Kutch area, deserts, where you will realize lot of impregnation of the salt water is taking place in the geomaterials of the soil. And then this becomes a big question, that how to construct the infrastructure, how to lay the foundations of the infrastructure. This is the technique which was developed by one of my PhD scholars during his PhD thesis, Dr. Sridip. You have met him, all of you. He is a professor at IIT Guwahati. He did a wonderful work to develop a lot of new innovative things in this context, and what we have done is we have used a new equipment, not now, but 2003-4 when he was working, it was the first time in the country somebody had used this WP4 equipment, what we call it as a dew point potentiometer. Dew point, I think you understand what is dew point. This is the moisture or the water vapors getting condensed on a surface. So, that is the dew point, and then potentiometer is an equipment which would measure what is the volume of the fumes or the vapors which are getting condensed on a surface. WP4 is the name of the equipment which is supplied by the company. WP4 is normally used for developing suction versus moisture content characteristics of the geomaterials. Now, this is the point from where the initiation of unsaturated soils starts, fine. So, those of you who are interested in learning how to characterize the soils for their unsaturated state, you have to go through the enormous amount of work which our research group has done, starting from Sneha Kurian to Kanan Iyer, I think Sneha Jayant, Hanumant Rao, Ravi Ranjan Rakesh, Srideep, and so many people who have used this equipment, and Vikas Thakur. So, these are the guys, you should read their papers and try to see how these equipments have been utilized and how the guidelines have been developed for establishing the basic characteristic curve for the soils, which is known as soil water characteristic curve. Yeah. So, when we talk about the soil suction, there are two components which everybody talks about. One is the metric suction, which is because of the matrix of the soil. Sometimes we call this as a matrix also, and the second one is the osmotic suction, which is because of the presence of the salts in the soils. And nowadays I am working on a third component of the soil suction. Any guess what that would be? So, if you analyze this closely, you will find that the soil matrix represents the physical state of the material, alright, state of compaction. Gamma D is very important. And what about this osmotic suction? This represents the chemical state of the material. So, what is remaining? Very good. So, we have started now talking about the biosuction, and two of my MTech students, they worked in this context, Asha and Meenu. If you see their paper, they have tried to work on, and they have established that these type of suctions are very important and they cannot be ignored in the geomaterials. So, for the time being, I will restrict my discussion on metric suction and the osmotic suction, because this is the first time you are getting initiated into these type of discussions. So, you can always build upon once you have the basics. So, soil water characteristic curve is mostly utilized by the guys who are into the field of agriculture engineering or water resources. So, if you talk to your colleagues who are doing modeling of reservoirs, irrigation modeling, irrigation scheduling, soil nutritional analysis and all, they would be very eager to know SWCC. This is also known as soil water retention curve, SWRC. But being a geotechnical engineer, we like to use the term SWCC rather than SWRC, but the connotation is same, either soil water retention or soil water characteristic curve. So, this essentially is a relationship between the moisture content, which could be either gravimetric or this could be volumetric also. It depends upon what techniques you are using. So, if you are taking out a sample from the field which is undisturbed, you can bring it, cut in small pieces and use WP4 or pressure membrane extractor to obtain the suction. So, psi corresponds to the total suction and W corresponds to the moisture content. This could be theta also, theta is the volumetric moisture content. So, I can plot a relationship between moisture content and suction. So, the way you read this graph is lesser the moisture content, alright, okay. What happens to the suction value? Extremely high, and the more the moisture content in the soil, the suction value is less. That is true, because saturated soils will not show you negative suction or negative pressures. So, this characteristic which you are seeing, the red color, is a sort of a fundamental behavior of the soil, and if you are very eager to learn this subject, please refer to the papers by Vikas Thakur and Shrideep, where we have talked intensively about measurement of ultra high suction in the soil and interpretation of SWCC and how to develop SWCC and how to use this SWCC, followed by the work of Dr. Hanumant Rao, who has used SWCC to derive unsaturated hydraulic conductivity of the soils. So, many times you ask this question, what is the state of the development of this subject? I hope now you are getting the answer. You remember some time back you were asking these things. It is not the first time this is being discussed, this has been under our radar since several years, and we have done a lot of work, and I can proudly say that we were the pioneers in working in these areas when nobody thought of these issues in geotechnical engineering as back as 2002, 2003, in fact early 2000. Okay, so as far as the interpretation is concerned, what I have shown is that the initial portion of this curve is almost flat, and then I have shown a point over here as a air entry value. Now, air entry value is the value of the suction beyond which the water only, at this point only the air will enter the pores, not before this. So, the way the cycle valves work, you have the valves there and then you pump in air, air cannot come out. It is a sort of a reverse process. We are sucking out the water from the soil, but we are making sure that the air does not enter the voids. What is the meaning of this? I still assume soils to be saturated. Clear? So, as long as the soils remain saturated, the moisture content is very high, but their suction is extremely low. So, this air entry value can be a sort of an inflection point. You know how to obtain the inflection point. You extend this straight line portion and then you extend this straight line portion, wherever they cut, this becomes the air entry value. And air entry value is a unique signature of the soil, which has something to do with the type of the soil, the gamma D, the particle sizes, and of course, the method of measurement and the environmental condition. So, nowadays the philosophy is like this, that if I know the SWCC, I need not to do any other experiment. Long back I had talked about the speculative modeling, application of artificial intelligence in geomechanics, where I had talked about different type of softwares which are used for speculative modeling. So, if I know one of the parameters or if I know the SWCC curve, I can speculate all other properties. So, air entry value would be of great help to people like us who are into designing the barrier systems, designing the disposal repositories for the nuclear waste. Why? Because soil is under continuous threat of elevated temperatures and the moisture migration is taking place from the soil. So, I would like to study, because of this thermal influence, how the moisture gets changed in the sample and how the properties are changing over a period of time. So, these are the applications and the implications of this study. The second term which you are observing here is WR, which would be very useful for the guys who are into agricultural sciences, because WR corresponds to the residual moisture content. Fine. So, residual moisture content corresponds to the wilting point, correct. So, people like you who can devise their automatic sprinkling systems, if you have SWCC and if this SWCC is fed in the software, what you can do is you can link this whole thing with a actuator, and that actuator will actuate the irrigation system. So, I can do precise irrigation. The moment moisture drops below WR, the suction values are going to be extremely high. I can measure the suction in situ by using different type of sensors, and I can put an algorithm in such a manner that the moment moisture content and the suction drops below a certain value, I get a trigger, and that trigger induces the irrigation. This could be a technique for disposal of the toxic waste also, where what would you like to do? If because of the inherent heat of the disposed waste, the tendency of the geomaterial is to crack, what I would like to do? I might like to have to do artificial saturation also, keep the system saturated. Are you realizing this? So, this is what the state of the affairs is, where you have to do complete engineering of the systems which are extremely live. I hope you are getting an idea about where the applications would be. You were asking some time back.
Sir, in clays, whenever we do oven drying method, I was thinking earlier that
For God's sake, never use oven drying method for clays. It's a
Yes,
gross
sir.
injustice.
that's the question. Like you can't really
Never,
assume
never,
that to
never,
be dry.
never. Why?
From this curve also prior to this, I was thinking that the clay never get really dry. The suction that we introduce, the water content won't be going down.
This is the mistake which people do. They try to put clays in oven. It's a gross injustice. Why? Clays without hygroscopic moisture contents are not real clays. There is a difference between popcorns which you eat and the clay, which is a source of lot of ideas and innovations in geotechnical engineering. So, the moment you expose clays to high temperatures, please read the work which has been done by Dr. Srinivas. He has done absolutely a masterpiece of work by exposing different types of soils to elevated temperatures, and he has proved what type of stresses develop on the surface of the particles, both tension and compression. So, in other words, when you do this type of misconduct with the geomaterials, you are altering their state at the crystal level itself. Are you getting this point? And crystallography we have already studied in the form of XRD analysis. So, if I want to establish the crystallography of the material, I should take this powder, put it in XRD, get the XRD results, and apart from knowing what is the phase of the minerals which are present, I can study the crystallography also. So, read Srinivas paper, Dr. Srinivas, and then it will give you the answer that why these type of mistakes should not be done. Clays are always air dried.
But my question is, you can't really have any soil that is in completely dry state because of this SWCC curve.
No, not because of SWCC curve, because of the hygroscopic moisture.
Air entry value, sir.
Air entry
then
value,
air
correct.
start recirculating.
That's right. No, air is not recirculating, it is not coming into the system. Air entry value is the point beyond which the moisture will drop, but air will not enter into it. This is also known as the bubbling point. Clear? So, this is the point beyond which the moisture loss is taking place, but you are stopping air to enter, and that is used for different applications. You are not allowing system to become unsaturated. Clear? But of course, water is draining out. So, this is a sort of a equilibrium which is existing at the interface of the contractile surface.
I was thinking like, sir, at the shrinkage limit,
What
happens is the air enters
No,
slightly below shrinkage
no,
limit.
never. At shrinkage limit also your sample is saturated. Clear? And you take all utmost care that the air should never enter. Remember, if you have done haste and if you have fried your sample, it is not a correct estimation of shrinkage limit. Sample should never crack. Number 1. If sample has cracked, so after taking out the pad, you should really use a lens to see whether the sample has cracked, the air has entered into it or not. If air has entered, discard the sample. It should never be used. So, by concept, the shrinkage limit is the one below which still the soil is fully saturated, or at this point the soil remains saturated and air has not entered into it. That means the cracks have not formed. Agreed? So, let us not complicate the things.
Use this air entry value, sir.
I told you air entry value is the one. If you look at this graph, the moisture remains constant. So, this is the point where the tendency of the air is just to enter into the system, and because of this what is happening is the moment you increase, there will be a decrease in the moisture content, and decrease in the moisture content is still holding from air to enter into the system. Clear? And then after that what is going to happen is, if you apply pressure on the soil sample, lot of water will come out. So, that is why we call this as the initiation of entry of the air into the soil sample. Okay. Type on Google air entry value and bubbling point of the membranes and then see the videos. It's okay. So your question is clays being oven dried. Please don't do this ever. Okay. Hygroscopic moisture content plays a very important role. Apply the correction for the hygroscopic moisture content in dealing with the clays. So if the OMC comes out to be 32%, detect hygroscopic moisture content, which might be 7-8%. So these type of corrections have to be applied.